Hello, guys. Welcome to my first official public Q&A that was set to be public. I've done a couple of these just via Patreon that I kind of let bleed over into public a couple times to test it out. But I'm going to be doing this once a month. We're going to be doing a live chat where I'm going to answer any questions you guys have, whether it is about training, motivation, how to build a plan out, gear, any of that. I figured it was going to be a good idea to get more people involved in the conversation. So if you guys have seen my channel, my videos and stuff, obviously, if you're seeing this now, you have. You know that my backstory, I'll give it super brief, is just that I grew up dancing my whole life, went to school for ballet, went on to do it professionally, contemporary ballet, and then slowly towards the end of that got into running and CrossFit, and then sort of blending those things together, ultimately putting me in the ultra running world, doing long distance runs and getting into coaching. So that was kind of the trajectory of my life. And now I make videos for you guys. And I do a lot of one-on-one coaching online and in person. And I live in Nashville. So how this is going to work is you guys are going to write in the chat any questions that you have, anything you want me to talk about or give advice on. I will always come with prepared topics in case no one really has anything and they kind of just want to listen or whatever. But we'll be here for 30 minutes. And yeah, I just want to help you guys out. So let me know that you can hear me, see me, everything. You can just drop it in the chat. Hopefully that is working. And yeah, I think that's all the housekeeping. So first thing I wanted to tell you guys is I have my next race in October. So next month, it'll be at the end of October. Oh, good. Perfect. Some questions coming in. Perfect. I have my 100 miler at the end of October. And so my training is in its last 2 months now. And I am feeling it. So if you guys have any questions about towards the end of your training plan or worried if you're not like ready for your race or something like that, I feel you. And I have a lot of thoughts on it. So we can definitely talk about that. Rachel says, top tips for the 4x4x48 starting tomorrow at 6. Oh, awesome. It's a really, really fun activity. If you guys don't know what it is, it's the Goggins Started Challenge. You run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. So you start usually on a Friday evening and finish on a Sunday late afternoon, evening. And it's just really fun. You learn a lot about yourself. My best tips would be, number one, you're not going to feel regular with your sleep and eating. So don't expect to find a stable point with that. You're going to kind of go up and down. Just when you're starting to fall asleep or get into that rest state, you're getting back up. So you will be exhausted for some of your runs, but you will be rejuvenated by even very small things like the sun coming up or the temperature dropping or whatever. So have a lot of clothes ready to go. I did mine away from home, so I had to like keep re-wearing some things, which sucked. Try to just keep dry clothes in the mix. That is a really big tip. Lastly, you're going to be tired. You're going to want to be sloppy in your run form, but the best thing you can do to keep yourself healthy from start to finish is keep picking up your feet. Every new run going with best intentions for moving well. A lot of people do this and they don't even run. They'll do like pull-ups or squats or something like that. But it's a really cool challenge, the 4x4x48. And I highly recommend doing it once at least. And then, if you want to keep it in your rotation once a year like he does, then by all means. If you guys are just joining, welcome to the Q&A. I'm answering all of your training questions, anything related to motivation, running, strength, fitness, anything like that. And you can just drop your questions in the chat and I will cover them. So anyway, back to the 100 miler. My race will be in Scottsdale and it's the Javelina 100. It's very beginner friendly, people say, but definitely some heat will be in the factors that day. So I've been doing a lot of heat training out here, a lot of humidity, just running when it fucking sucks outside, honestly. And it's been good. I think it's been good for my confidence to know that I can run long when it is miserable outside. Morgan says, tips for becoming a more consistent runner and baseline miles per week to build a base. I am mainly into weightlifting, but want to run another half. How do you balance? So this is kind of what I feel like I struck the balance on easiest in terms of creating a workout schedule that I didn't burn out from. Really, really important to do strength with your running or running with your strength, in my opinion, if you want to keep cardiovascularly healthy and feel fit. As far as baseline mileage, I don't typically go off of baseline mileage. I go off of kind of the split of my week. So I usually am probably in my whole workout week running 30 to 40% of the time and doing strength slash hit or walking the other part of the time. If you are starting to get into running, I would say run for time in the beginning and then go into mileage. Going for mileage sometimes just creates um, not fun mental atmosphere for you. You're just constantly worried about numbers and paces and getting to a certain point by a certain time. You almost get in your head more. If I say I'm going to go run for 30 minutes, I find it's a lot easier to be out 15 minutes, back 15 minutes. Or my long run might be 45 minutes, but I'm going to say I'm doing this run walk scheme. You definitely want to have some walk breaks in there if you're not used to consistently running. Again, to rejuvenate how you're running, make sure you're not just hunched over getting through however you can, but you are also teaching your body how to keep a steady heart rate up and continue moving and not get in those big ups and downs, every single run that you go on. If you guys have had trouble getting into running for longer than a minute at a time, 2 minutes at a time, you are likely either going too fast or you do need more walk breaks in there. People tell me that, I can get through a mile and then I completely fall apart. You can't get through a mile. It would be my answer. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a shameful thing. It's just get yourself to a state where you are confidently getting through that mile easily and can build from there. That's why I feel like mileage can get a little tricky in the beginning. So go out for time and do it consistently. I would say start with 2 to 3 days a week. One of those can even be on the same day that you do a strength workout, either at opposite ends of the day, or you can do a back-to-back. I kind of like that too, depending on what kind of fitness level you're at. Okay, hopefully that helped. Yeah, I think if you guys can, think about what types of tips have helped that you've maybe heard from me or other people with running and what hasn't, that can also help me steer fixing the problems. I know I have a lot of beginner runner clients, and for some people, it's like, I'm bored out there. And then for some people, it's like every step hurts. So those are two very different problems to solve. And I try to gear things towards whatever the majority is really struggling with. Okay. All right. Marin In and Out says, if you could be any fictional character, who would you be? I don't know. I would have to think on that one. I don't want to say I'm not a big movie person. I'm not a big fictional person. I love a lot of things that could actually happen. So I guess a movie character would still count. I need to think on that. I'll think on it. Okay, Jade says, hi, Holly, love your videos. I'm 70 pounds overweight, lost 6 pounds last month. Congrats. I used to be a runner 3 years ago, but I'm now a total beginner again. Is it crazy to want to run a marathon in 1 year? No, and it's not at all. I get this question a lot. People will write me and say, there's a race I want to do in 18 months. There's a race I want to do in 10 months, 12 months, whatever. I don't think I'm going to be ready. Do you? And for me, this might just be my perspective on life, but that is a large chunk of time for anyone. I mean, definitely there's weight to lose and there's ways to do things safely, but to limit yourself to think that at the very least you'd need over a year for any sort of physical goal, you won't do anything at that point if you think you need that amount of time. And I think it's too long of a goal to keep you motivated. So I really, really like this distance. 1 year is perfect. Think about picturing this time next year, you would be getting to the start line. That's really exciting to think about. You can actually approach the next year in 4 quadrants. Maybe the first one's on weight loss, just moving and starting to drop that weight off. Quadrant 2, we start to work in strong, consistent running, even if it's in small bits. And then I would say the last 6 months are just solid training, like marathon training, tempo work, hill work, long runs, practicing what you need, your gear, all that stuff, getting back into that run mode. But no, not at all. I feel like anyone in a year can pretty much do anything they want, if you ask me. You just need to keep your training mixed up enough that you're not burning yourself out just for the sake of saying, I did this many miles this week. Definitely start with good walking and don't overdo it, because you want to be able to get out the door, several days a week. Definitely take your rest days. I think a lot of people misunderstand that if they have a lot of weight to lose and they're starting a weight loss journey, they need to be hitting it every day. Otherwise, they failed. I don't believe in that. I believe in 4 weeks from now, are you still consistent about what you started doing? Can the schedule be maintained across the 4 weeks? If not, it is too hard, or it's something that you really just don't enjoy doing. It could be a combo of the two. Make it super easy. It's way easier to add on volume than to take away mentally. I always start people on a 3-day a week plan, and they're like, this doesn't seem like enough. But if you were not doing anything before and you started to add 3 days a week, that's definitely going to feel like something. And I would love to get to a point where they're like, hey, I'm going to actually run a fourth time, or I'm going to run a fifth time because I feel like it. Like, that's a really, really good place to be in. You will feel more in control, which ultimately is the answer when you're training for any sort of race distance or getting back in anything consistently. You want to feel like you are driving the boat. All right, guys, good questions. Keep them coming. We can talk about strength stuff. We can talk about gear. If you guys have shoe questions, stuff like that, I know that's a common one. Yeah, no problem. And I think a lot of the gear stuff too, I also just want to remind you guys, it doesn't make or break your training as much as you think it does. I think we all want the newest, best stuff. As long as you feel like the products you use support you on a regular basis and don't just fall apart, that's the thing I would say be aware of. If you are going to go on the cheap route of things, you want things to hold up and you want to have products you trust. The things that I use, I have used for years and years and years. And I've really figured out a system that works for me. Trial and error. I hate when people say that because it takes so long, but it is the truth. And the sooner you can start figuring out what products work for you, whether it's shoes, gear, gels, electrolytes, all the stuff that makes you feel best, you actually have a lot more tools in your box. The sooner you can figure that out, the better your experience will be. Okay. Pittsburgh Disney fans. Hey, coach, love your stuff and have for years. Why do you use chamois butter over foot glider or other anti-blister products? That's a good question. I have found, and this might just be the skin texture that I have, I'm in a lot of different climates, whether it's just for travel or just seeing my sister in Arizona, which is travel, dry climate, humid here. I feel like chamois butter works as sort of a lotion mixed with uh, a protection agent. And for me, I feel that I often have just like dried out skin, and especially from sweating. So it adds that moisture layer with the protection from blisters. Whereas some of the glides, I feel like create a coat, which is good, but it makes my skin not feel good long term. And once it comes off, I don't feel like my skin is being like hydrated at all, if that makes sense. So I just feel more comfortable in the chamois butter. I feel like I also can put it anywhere. I've been putting it on my back because I've gotten a lot of rubbing from my pack and stuff and the humidity, and then all over my feet. And I feel like it absorbs really well too. But that's a good question. I did used to use Glide and I liked it. I've been on the hunt for the best blister protection system. Honestly, I've really landed on Band-Aids with KT tape and then filling in with just that chamois butter when I need to. But for feet especially, I just tape is like the only answer for me. Okay. Talk about shoes. Okay, I'll talk about shoes. Anyone who has watched even one of my videos knows I'm a massive Hoka fan. I have been for close to, I would say, 10 years, easy. Me and my dad have been running in them for forever. I first discovered them, I think, at a running store, and I remember I hated them because they were so ugly. If you think they're ugly now, you should have seen how ugly they were then. But I tried one run in them and I was sold. And I really like Hoka's for the fact that, like Jade was asking about, Hoka figured out how to make running 50% more comfortable for people who first had to lose weight. I think we often get told you have to lose all your weight and then you can start your running journey. And I think Hoka did an incredible job at bridging the gap between the training, the weight loss, not being in running shape, whatever that means, not being a runner, whatever. And you could put your shoes on and still be comfortable enough to even move for 20 minutes, whether it was a walk or light jog or run walk, whatever. So I love Hoka's, and I think they've done a great job at increasing the technology. They are expensive, I will say that, but I wear mine into the ground every single time. They last a really, really long time. So love those. I really like the Hoka Speed Goats. I think I wear the 5. It's a trail and road hybrid shoe. So it's perfect if I'm going to travel in it or do a race that's pavement and trail mixed. I don't have to worry about my shoes being good on one, bad on the other. I tried Ultras. I liked them, the zero drop, but it wasn't my most comfortable shoe. For when I did my first 100, I swapped to it after like mile 56. And I felt like it was such a drastic change from the Hoka that I think for me, I interchange shoes a lot throughout the week. And it feels so different, which is probably a good thing. I should probably train myself in a zero drop shoe more. But it was so drastic that it was kind of just getting in my head. So it wasn't that comfortable. So love Hokas, tried a bunch of different ones. I think I have the Mach X right now, or Mach 10, whatever. And then I have, what is the other one? The Bondi 8, I think it is. So yeah, kind of mix those up. I've run in Nikes obviously before. I think I've run in some New Balances. Brooks I ran in for a long time. I really don't think they make really a bad shoe anymore as long as you go with a trusted brand. The one shoe that I haven't really dove into is On Running, On Clouds. I know people are really into them. Whenever I look at them, they look very narrow for my personal taste, but if you guys like them, let me know. I think they've done a lot of good work getting into the running space recently, and I see people in them all the time. So hopefully that's a good rundown on shoes. Basically, Hokas are 10 out of 10. Okay. Paul says, with marathon training at 57, should I ease off on the tempo speed training? I trained for a second one this year and ended with being injured. This is a really good question because I do have a lot of people when they get hurt always blame it on their tempo work or their speed work. Just to clarify what the point of a tempo run is, it is so that you can run well at higher speeds and you can work on your best form at higher speeds. What that ends up bleeding into for even long, slow distance running is you can pick up your feet really efficiently. And you can do so at a way that you've practiced and are familiar with. And it's a lot safer on the body actually to pick up the feet quicker. That's why we always talk about cadence. Can you pick up the cadence? Small, quick steps is going to be a lot less impact overall on your body. You're not landing and sinking for like larger amounts of time on each side. We get that hip sink, knees get into issues, shins when we're landing super heavy and kind of clunking along, but quick little feet in place enforces good hip position, and you end up using bigger muscles to take the brunt, whatever, of that impact. So your butt and thighs are doing a lot of the landing and not your smaller, shin, ankle, all the small joints as you land heavy. That's kind of sounds theoretical, but it's the truth. I think when you do your tempo work, you are forcing yourself to have the highest quality run form at your higher speed. For someone older, I would say maybe work it in different ways than you're probably seeing a lot online. You do not need to be on the track doing mile repeats, 10 out of 10 effort. You don't need to be doing even 400s or 100 meters sprinting, anything like that. I would just say work on something more fartlek style where you're speeding up a little bit from what you normally feel comfortable doing. This will also give you that aerobic increase as well because you're going to be working at that higher heart rate, still having to keep running and breathe through it and figure out how your body's going to, maintain itself through that. So I would say go for more of a fartlek style run. You're at a stop sign, say at the next stoplight, you're going to basically speed up to the next stoplight and then you'll come down. And the next time you see a tree, you're going to speed up again. You kind of just make it kind of nebulous, but practice the speed, but you don't need to hit certain paces, I would say. If that's stressing you out or you're trying to hit race pace or this many seconds faster than race pace, that has to be so controlled. You have to be really, really warmed up, really, really cooled down, and you have to take care of all the tissues. So you have to be foam rolling, getting massage, working on yourself in between. When things tighten up and shorten and we go do another workout with things that way again, we put ourselves at higher risk. And the older we get, the longer it takes to warm up. So if you are seated at a desk all day or in the car all day, and you think you're just going to pop into your tempo run, would not recommend. I think I would get hurt doing that too. Hopefully that helped. Okay, let's keep moving along here. Oh, good. Chrissy says, hey, Holly, love your videos. Recently found Perfect Bars because of you. Love them. I love Perfect Bars. High calorie, but I say they last for me like through the whole morning if I have one, and high protein. So they're great bars if you guys are looking for something. Also like decent ingredient list, nothing crazy in there. Okay, Jana says, you inspired me to run my first 50 miler this September. Feeling so excited and so nervous. I've been consuming your content like crazy. Oh my God, I love that. First 50 miler is such a big accomplishment. I remember that was the first time I was like, holy shit, I'm doing things other people aren't doing. And that's not why we should run, but it does inspire a lot of us to run, I think, to do something that we know a lot of people in the world would never sign up for. But I'm really excited for you. You just keep telling yourself you've done the work. And I don't even care what the work looked like in your training, if you fell off, if you came back, this goes for anyone. You have put in that mental thought day in, day out, even when things weren't going well. And that's preparing you too. So you will get through it. It probably will go better than you think. And whenever you're in a big hole mentally, or you're thinking you can't do it, even if it came up at mile 3 or something, you will come out of it. You'll figure out a way to keep putting one foot in front of the other. So good luck. Okay, Mike says, seems lately I've had multiple problems with my left leg, mostly lower part calf shin. What are some strength exercises and stretches that would prevent/help with this? Uh, the calf and shin is one of the most common areas everybody gets hurt. And I think it's because we tend to put a lot of our weight forward on our toes, meaning what happens is that load on the back, and I'm kind of even talking about going from like a Hoka down to a zero drop shoe, that back bottom part of the leg, if you're constantly slightly heels off the ground, there's a lot of stress being put on the lower part of the leg. If there's any chance that you are forward up on your toes and you're not landing right in the middle, lifting the foot up and landing right under the hips, you might be working extra hard with your calves and with your Achilles. As far as shins, same thing. When you come down and that angle, even if you're reaching out or whatever, you're coming down, really putting impact on the front of that leg, because again, you're not landing under the big muscles. That repeatedly, thousands of steps, couple times a week, couple times, or then several times per month, all adds up very quickly. So look at what you're doing on a regular basis. If you have not had your run form analyzed or looked at, I don't love doing it at a running store because it's usually like a teenager, no disrespect, but it's like a teenager whose goal is to sell you shoes. That's what they're being told to do. Have somebody maybe look or watch some form videos. I do have some on my channel as well. Figure out how to pick up your feet and land with less pressure on those areas, calf and shin. You should be able to figure it out, and you'll realize, oh, wow, this is actually way easier. Maybe not at first, it feels clunky, but it will feel like you're putting a lot less pressure there. In the meantime, roll out, but not excessively. I would say 1 to 2 solid sessions a day, 5 to 10 minutes. A lot of calf smash where you use your shin on the back of the calf and kind of work the tissue, rolling the ankle around. Massage really helps. Ice and stuff is good for, like inflammation you want to get down basically, but try and go from the top down. Where is the form that's creating this problem consistently? My guess is that if you can't think of a time where you literally got hurt in some acute injury. I hope that helps. I hope it clears up soon. I have some good like warm up cool down videos on the channel, I think. And then I also show you guys what type of balls I like for the mobility that really helps break up adhesions and things in between workouts. So that should help. But okay, what else here? What top items would you carry in your pack for an ultra without a crew? Okay, you got to be eating. So whatever you're not getting at aid stations, you need to have a good game plan for, say I always go off of, if I was alone for 2 hours, you're going to need to know where your aid stations are, but assume you were alone for 2 hours at any point on the course. Would you have enough nutrition for that? I'm usually eating something, 100 calories or so every 30 minutes, every 40 minutes. You want to have stuff to block any rubbing that's happening. So whether that's a little runner glide, chamois butter like I use, whether it's extra tape or Band-Aids, as soon as you're feeling a hot spot, you want to have that with you. You want to probably have an extra layer of some kind depending on the weather. So if it's going to be hot to cold, cold to hot, I always like one other thin layer that's still going to help. Smart Wool is an amazing brand. It's merino wool and it wicks away moisture. It can keep you hot and cold, or warmer and colder when you need it. It's incredible technology, whatever they do. So they are pricey. I think it's like $90 a shirt, but I've had mine for forever and it's a really easy thing to tie on. Water, obviously, I said electrolytes. I love the little base salt. Super easy way to get electrolytes. That's not a bunch of packets and stuff. You just lick it off your finger. I'm trying to think. I guess depending on how rural the race is, if you need any, if you're going to be in the mountains, that's another safety issue. Think about, I don't know if you need a knife on you or bear spray or things like that. There are some races that require it. I would say the crew mainly is there to like help you make decisions. So lastly, I'd probably say have a list in your bag or something to reference when you need to just read an answer of what to do. I've heard of people doing this, like problem solution, but it's in a list, because when you're so tired, mile 60 or wherever you are, and you can't even really make decisions anymore, that's usually what the crew is best for. So you could write it down on the paper, like eat, make sure you're eating, make sure you're drinking. This hurts. What should I do? This is rubbing. What should I do? Just things that you've run into before or potentially have started to be problems before, and have those all there. I actually did a video on how to run an ultra without a crew where I broke it all down. But for me personally, my crew is mostly there to keep me on track with my original plan. So if nothing else, write down your plan, make sure you know what to do, and have it to reference, because hopefully at that point you can still read. Okay. Keep the questions coming, guys. We have about 5 minutes left here, a little under. This has been really fun, though. Thank you so much for watching. And we're definitely going to do this every month, so look out for those notifications. Do you recommend rolling out key areas before or after doing those moves? I've read advice on both before and after. Oh, she's referencing a strength video I did that was just for strengthening the glute medius to prevent hip pain, especially overwork on the hip flexor. I would say I've read a lot of different things, just like you, about when to roll out. I would say for me, I'm better balanced in strength work if I'm not rolled out first. And I like doing it once I'm already really super warm and sweaty and tired. I feel like it's a little bit more malleable. I can like get in there more when I roll out. You can do it before for sure, but you also want to just be gentle getting into the movement or workout afterwards, because you are going to be a little Bambi after that. The point of rolling is to, create health in the tissue, break up adhesions, spread things out is kind of how I like to see it. It's kind of like all condensed, depending on how things were left after you've been sleeping or your last workout or whatever. But you want to make sure you're doing that with good blood flow happening. So I like some dynamic stretching before any type of rollout, or if you just worked out, you can just go into it. So I don't think there's like better one way or the other, but just make sure that if you are doing a strength workout, you've prepped yourself for best ways to balance and coordinate for those strength movements. You don't want to waste a bunch of reps just trying to get your footing, and you don't want to get hurt because you can't get your footing or balance, especially when it comes to deadlifts or anything weighted. For someone that can't really digest peanut butter too well, what do you recommend as a good meal a few hours before a marathon? Something as simple as a Cliff Bar ? Okay. I would say everyone's different here. I digest a really balanced meal better than anything. And I also feel like if you're trying to go to the bathroom and everything, which everybody is before the marathon, eat something that goes through you well, but also satiates you. So for me, I like eggs, rice, maybe a little bit of avocado, maybe a small piece of toast if you're several hours before. I like a bagel with something on it. If you don't like peanut butter or can't digest peanut butter, that's okay. Maybe some fruit, like very straightforward carbs, things that are going to just sit normally for you. So I love a balanced meal. Bars are great. I just feel like they don't necessarily make me feel complete or like full enough to, I don't know. It's hard to say. They don't burn as slowly for me as like a more of a real food meal. So that's why I like eggs and rice together, but everyone's different. I would say try a few different things on your long runs. See from your energy level what feels best. A bar is good if you don't want to feel full at all and you're going to be starting your gels pretty soon. That kind of will keep you steady, but maybe you won't feel as energized going in. That wasn't really an answer, but hopefully that gave you some ideas. I've played with a lot of things, I will say, and I always end up in one of those two rounds I just told you, either the meal or like a carb, fruit, something like that. Okay. Guys, these have been really good questions. I really appreciate it. I think I'm going to wrap things up here. I will leave this up so you guys can watch it later, access it, whatever. And I will be doing the next one sometime, I'm trying to think, 3rd-ish week of September probably, but if you're subscribed, you will get the notification. I'll always try to get it up 30 minutes or more before so you know what time we'll be going live. And I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.